ABC News obtained portions of these proffer sessions. And in the portion with Jenna Ellis, she explains that Trump White House official Dan Scavino, who is his social media guru, told her in late December 2020 the boss would not leave the White House. But listen to the way she describes it.
I thought that the claims and the ability to challenge the election results was essentially over, because he said to me in a kind of excited tone, well, we don't care and we're not going to leave. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, the boss, meaning President Trump, and everyone understood the boss, that's what we all called him. He said the boss is not going to leave under any circumstances. We are just going to stay in power. And I said to him, well, it doesn't quite work that way, you realize. And he said, we don't care.
Okay, just a little footnote here. Jenna Ellis, implies that she was like the voice of reason, saying it doesn't work that way. A couple of days later, though, she tweeted that President Trump should never concede the election. But Ben, what do you make of that little bit of hearsay evidence?
So first of all, Jenna Ellis, like all of these characters, is somebody who is, at this point, turning on or trying to turn on Trump and his cadre. She's a bit late in that. There's obviously questions about her sincerity. And so you got to keep all that in mind as you imagine what she would be like as a witness. Look, that said, there are some things in there that are pretty damaging to Trump. And admittedly, this is not Trump himself saying this, but it is somebody close to him describing exactly what he ended up trying to do with 2 weeks to go. And it's not surprising. It's not hard to believe how usable it is, both for admissibility reasons and for, frankly, they apparently have him saying similar things in his own voice. So why you would need it through, through Scavino, through Ellis is not entirely clear to me. Yeah. But look, with all of these proffer videos, I think you should keep two things in mind. The first is that it was in somebody's interest to dump them in public. Yes. Now, it's not necessarily inappropriate for that to happen. They're not subject to a protective order. They were given to all the defendants, I believe, in discovery. And so any defendant who, has a reason to want to give it out, it's perfectly appropriate for their defense lawyers to hand them out. But somebody's doing it for a strategic reason. And maybe that strategic reason is because they think it makes Trump look bad, or maybe they think the strategic reason is that, honestly, they think that Sidney Powell comes off as deranged and it doesn't really do Trump that much harm. So just ask yourself when you watch these how
who benefits
and why somebody wants this out right now.
Fani Willis clearly did not. She was filed a motion to seal some of this, to block this from happening. She seemed very unhappy, which is not that surprising because prosecutors do not want their evidence aired before trial. Correct. So, right. So again, I think it's very, very clear this came from one of the defense teams. And we don't know. What we don't know is who, and we don't know why necessarily.
Right. Okay. I think, and there's a lot of possibilities, right? Because there's, presumably it is not, one would hope it is not one of the lawyers for the 4 defendants who pled out. Yes. And the reason I say that is that they are subject to, as part of their agreements, they're not supposed to make press comments. They're not, and so there should be some restraint on the part of Jennifer Ellis's lawyers, on the part of Sidney Powell's lawyers, et cetera. But any of the others, and there's 15 others, it is perfectly appropriate for them to do this.
Appropriate? Is that the word? I mean, appropriate?
Well, it's not inappropriate.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So,
all right. So let's talk about the substance of this, because I mean, I have a couple of things to say about the story that Jenna Ellis is telling about Dan Scavino at the Christmas party saying the boss has no intention of leaving the White House. Number one, I mean, it is hearsay evidence, so I think it's questionable whether that will ever show up in a court of law. Number two,
although what's not hearsay evidence is if you then call Dan Scavino,
right,
and then, say, Jennifer Ellis said this. First of all, is it true? Right, and they can
try to corroborate.
It's a lead that is not, you could get that in a way that is not necessarily.
He's not likely to confirm.